So to end our X-Marathon, we have the New Mutants. Recently released, it was supposed to be released in 2016, and it kind of feels like it was supposed to. There's certain themes in this that fit more with that weird post-credit scene in Apocalypse, and also with Logan. It was clearly supposed to be right in the middle there. And due to plans that we had heard about in terms of X-Force and what New Mutants led into the X-Force in the comics, it's clear that New Mutants was probably going to become the X-Force, and apparently the Gambit movie was supposed to be connected, so that would have been cool. But it's clear from the fact that they had to totally throw out all those plans that they just had no intention of following that up, and this would have easily been cancelled if it wasn't basically halfway finished. Due to the whole dealings with the Fox and Disney buyout, there was a whole idea of maybe that they were going to finish the film with some more reshoots, and they were going to change some parts of the plot to try and fit it in with the MCU. Or at least that's what rumors said. And that either didn't happen or it was entirely fucking false, because of course, thankfully, they just finished it off to be what it is now. Josh Boone, known for The Fault in Our Stars, alongside the writer of this movie, Nate Lee, spelled with a K, N-A-T-E, they worked together as they will with the recent Stand, which will probably, hopefully, be pretty good, but that's also not that much of an action thing, and The Fault in Our Stars is very much a regular teen thing, so it's not very clear on whether or not Josh Boone really knows how to make an action film, and that you can see throughout this movie. This movie, of course, has no real connections to the X-Men themselves. It definitely takes place in the same world, but it has no real connection to the X-Men. So you could actively go into this with no idea of really any of the movies that have happened previous to it. This, of course, mainly being about Daniel Moonstar, who is a Native American who probably lived on some kind of reservation, but wherever she lived, a whole supposed storm destroyed her whole village and killed her dead alongside everyone who lived in that village. Due to that, she is now in this sort of mutant teaching program facility where they supposedly are here to help mutants learn to understand their powers and to not be dangerous. That's a good idea in theory, and that's a thing that is very much a thing within the X-Men franchise. That's the whole point of the X-Men. I like that idea, but it's very clear throughout the whole movie that it isn't the whole actual point of this movie. And that's just how simple this is. It's obviously this facility is run by the bad guys, who in this are revealed to be the XX Corp, that being, of course, Nathaniel Essex, that being Mr. Sinister, who again was in the post-credit scene of Apocalypse, that I thought was so unimportant that I didn't mention it in the review. Turns out it was supposed to be important, because again, it was supposed to be released immediately afterwards, and just wasn't. Throughout us kind of figuring this out, though, we do see the slow beginnings of Danny's powers, where people start seeing their different fears, and through that we learn about what happened to them and why they're in here, and a little bit about their characters. Eventually kind of ending in the doctor who talks to all of them, who is a character from the comics, Dr. Cecilia Reyes, who's not related to Robbie Reyes, the Ghost Rider. She's just she actually is supposed to be an X-Men who just has barrier powers, but I guess she's a bad guy here. That's fine, doesn't matter. She's keeping them in the barrier, and when she gets a message from her superior to just fucking kill Danny, because she's the reason why everyone's seeing all these visions, she kind of just freaks the fuck out and summons the big crazy demon bear, which was the true reason why her village was destroyed in the first place. Through this, do all of our characters finally utilize their powers to help fight it off, but eventually Danny is the person to kind of fully shut it down, as she also learns to use her powers. With the fact that the bear fucking ate the doctor, they're able to escape and live a hopefully normal life. Of course, you have a pretty good cast here. Danny, the main character, is played by Blue Hunt, whom I don't know if I'm saying that name right, I'm imagining I am. Blue Hunt. Not fantastic. She's not very believable, but everyone else in this is pretty good. You have Anya Taylor-Joy as Elania Rasputin Magic. She is not mentioned to be Colossus's sister in this, but is at least in the comics. I don't like her Russian accent, but she's at least better than Blue Hunt. And everyone else in this is pretty good.
I knew it was bad, so I went to everything great to see if he could
I thought I wasn't
me.
sure when they
Forgive
showed
me,
her
Father, for I have
with the haircut that I was hoping that they would have Wolfsbane in. Yeah, I'm down for that. And Charlie Heaton and Henry Zaga are probably the best out of the whole cast. Alice Braga, I'm a little bit mixed on her. She's also not fantastic in this, but I feel like all of this, regardless of if they were good or not in this, kind of doesn't matter. I feel like Josh Boone really didn't work with these people as well as he easily could have. The best parts about movies are the subtleties, the different reactions the characters have to each other. It's very easy to have a whole cast of people not make any emotions as one character is talking, but when people have subtle changes in their movements and emotions during scene, it helps to establish who they are as characters. And that's the main problem I have with this movie, is that it doesn't really ever establish its characters enough to make me care. Obviously, as a person who's read the New Mutants comics, I care about these characters enough to want to see them on screen. So I know who they are, and I don't necessarily need to understand who they are. But for new people who don't know these characters, which I'm sure is a lot of people, they probably don't give a shit. My sister, who I saw this with, probably won't give a shit about any of these characters as they go forward, and will probably forget who these characters are if they ever show up ever again, which God knows if they ever will. Mainly because besides some of their powers, what have we really learned about these characters? Now, we of course did learn about their backstories and why they're here, and again, their powers, but who really are they? What are their relationships to each other? Now, Rain and Danny do have some kind of relationship that they establish throughout the movie, and I think they're pretty cute together. But them as separate characters, I don't really know what their personalities really are. I feel like Rain's probably the best developed character, because it's really easy to establish a character as being afraid of religion. That's just easy. And besides what they did to fuck up to get here being the thing that they happen to be scared of, them seeing visions of the different things they're scared of really didn't add to who they are. This movie really should have taken from a movie that was released shortly before when it was even supposed to be originally released, which was It. It and then It Chapter 2 should have been a good thing to show off what you could do with different visions of creepy stuff and how that could add to the character. Not only should you probably say what these characters are, what their whole point is, as they should really have a genuine, actual discussion with each other. But if you're going to have creepy visions, they really need to be something. They need to have a point. They really need to show off, not only be longer and preferably come back later on, but they needed to have more of a point to them. All these visions just kind of showed up and then didn't later. Both Sam and Robbie had visions that showed off why they're here, but that wasn't incorporated later on. It was cool that they all did fully learn their powers by the point of the demon bear, but I feel like even leading up to them fighting the bear, there should have been like the whole area being like warped around because Danny's psyche's going crazy, and they should have fought through their fears leading up to the bear. Basically similar to the ending of It. I'm saying this movie should have been It, but with superpowers, because that would have been a movie I'd be down to fucking see. Especially because it would have made sense, because Danny has that kind of power. And with it being more they have to fight themselves, even more so than It, that would have been an interesting teen film. But it unfortunately doesn't come off like that. It just feels like they had some ideas, they just needed to do things to, I guess, pretend that it was a horror movie, and then have them there. So because of that, and the fact that they don't really have any real moments with each other, I don't really learn anything about these characters. This movie could have really benefited from some kind of scene with them hanging out with each other. There is a scene where they go into this hidden room, but not only should they have had multiple scenes in that room, but they should have been a lot longer. There should have been more scenes of that, or at least them actually saying something during their, support meetings. I wanted to learn about these characters, why they're here, why I should fully care, Any of these characters could have died, and the only feeling I would have had was, damn, I wish they did that character better. Rather than, damn, I wish that character wasn't dead, because I was growing to like that character. I don't hate any of these characters, but I don't really care. And that sucks, because I really like the New Mutants as characters from the comics. I absolutely love that run of comics, and where it more or less led to in the original X-Force. Again, more or less. Of course, with the teen drama part not being interesting, you'd think a superhero teen drama horror movie would at least be creepy, but like I said, not only are those weird vision scenes not well incorporated into the plot enough to make us care about the characters, but they're not fucking scary at all. I've seen way scarier versions of what this movie tries to do from kid shows, and specifically modern day, but especially in the 90s. This movie doesn't even try to even look slightly scary. But when they said Robbie, like, burnt his girlfriend and that's the reason he's here, I expected some kind of, like, burnt, rotting flesh beast, but we got, like, his girlfriend on fire, and it just looks the exact same as he later looks, literally the next scene that they show. She's not scary, she just looks the same as he does, and that's just not interesting at all. And later when they bring up the smiley men that Magic's scared of, not only is there no real explanation on what they are, which I'm assuming is not good things that happened to her as a kid, which if explained would have made the character a lot better and more interesting and the reason why she would be scared of them, but as far as it seemed, they could just easily just be mutants. Either a group of them, or they could just be a guy who happened to be mutated to be creepy and can maybe, well, like, multiply himself. As far as I know, she killed a random innocent man and she's just scared of him because he looks creepy. Sure, there's power in subtlety, and you could have that in a movie, but not only would you need to at least go slightly further in that other movie, but in a series like X-Men, especially in this movie that has people having superpowers that establish that you can have different appearances due to your superpowers, the Smiley Men could easily be a regular fucking mutant that you just murdered. So you kind of need to go a little bit more than maybe subtlety that is maybe implying something, because as far as I can tell, it's nothing. Again, these guys are barely creepy. I've seen weird, lanky guys way more creepier in The Conjuring 2. And that isn't even that bad of a thing. And this movie's PG-13, so it can't be that scary. But not only could you still have better looking, scary things with not only practical effects, but also just better done CGI, but none of it needs to be bloody or visceral to look a certain way for it to be still scary despite being PG-13. This movie could have absolutely benefited from being R-rated. I don't know why it wasn't. They could have went more into the visions, had it be more creepy, and even had some of the things that I swear the original trailer showed, but this movie didn't fucking have. Am I crazy that that's a thing? That they showed things that weren't in this? Yes? This movie not doing its characters all that well and not being scary, what is there to enjoy? Well, at least that final bear fight is cool. At least Magic looks cool. At least Lockheed, which was a little puppet that she had, turned out to be a real thing. It's cool to see these guys on screen, but it's just like, when you don't do them properly, what's the point? Now, I didn't hate this movie. I don't think it deserves fucking 39%, but I didn't really like this movie. I didn't much care for the characters. I didn't think it was scary. I hate when the thousands of people who are ready to watch this film mention that it's a horror film, which it sure as shit is not. And I agree with one of the original writers of The New Mutants that it does not at all hold to the same kind of spirit that the original comics held. It just is New Mutants in name. Then again, he also said that the actor for Robbie was whitewashed when he's a exactly Brazilian actor, so I don't know what he wants there. Well, acting is fine, and CGI is workable enough for it to be a watchable movie, and that last bear fight is fun. It's a fine movie, I didn't hate it, but as a New Mutants fan, I'm very disappointed, and as an X-Men fan, just kind of bored. Well, I don't think it deserves a 39. I also don't think it deserves anything more than a medium, because it's just a fine movie. It's just okay. It's watchable. It's at least a better movie than fucking Dark Phoenix and Apocalypse. But it probably would have been totally forgotten if it was released when it was originally. And I kind of am glad it was released at around here. Because while Danny's looking into the visions of the One Doctor, she actually sees certain things about Logan, which kind of gives me the idea that this would be connected to that. These kids could be some of the kids that were, in fact, experimented on and were kind of brought somewhere else. Or I guess they were like a secondary project that were given to families because they maybe thought that they were failures, or maybe they were thought to just, like, let them go in the wild at first or something like that. I don't know. There's no other media to help explain this shit. Just gonna assume that they are involved, and as is XX Corp with the whole Logan thing. And that they're part of that next generation, and that there is at least a hopeful message at the end of this whole thing that, despite this being an okay movie, it at least continues the idea of, at the end of the X-Men are done, they're all gone, as is this franchise, but at least there is a generation that will help learn from what the X-Men stood for and will hopefully lead into a better future. despite this movie not at all being what it was kind of promised by many things to be, it's a fine film, and it is a better ending to the franchise than Dark Phoenix ever could possibly be. Hopefully we'll see better versions of these characters in some other thing. I love these New Mutants characters, but while we'll definitely see the X-Men in the MCU eventually, God knows if we'll ever get these guys, or the possible ideas of bringing in Warlock and Mirage, which if they do, please bring the weird fat look in Mirage, because I need that in the live-action format, please. And if they do, please make magic this time, because she wasn't in this movie. I mean, that's because, you know, a world of just mutants magic can't exist. I mean, aliens can, but not magic. X-Men became a franchise that it really wasn't supposed to be by the end of it. It was just began as part of the era that people tried to make superhero movies almost in name only, with a general idea that they were action-ish, but we all kind of learned what superheroes were, and after deconstructing the whole genre through the movies themselves, superhero movies become something entirely different, and X-Men's the biggest case of that. You look what X-Men was back in the first one, and you look at it now, basically 20 whole years later, it's a franchise that went through so many weird changes. You know what, I'm glad I went through all of it, because I was able to relive all of the good-ish memories, but especially the bad-ish memories of childhood of watching these, and kind of seeing how far we've come in terms of what we think of, in terms of what we want to make superhero movies. The answer is we haven't learned a goddamn thing, and we'll keep making stupid mistakes when it comes to representing these characters from the comics. So, the message in general is read the fucking X-Men comics. Read them. They're always like 20 times better. Please, read the comics. But if you want to see all my reviews of the previous X-Men movies, then you can go ahead and watch all of those. They're all on my channel. And if you want to see what I'm doing next, the next franchise I'm doing, which involves maybe some certain talking apes.
Dear me. Oh shit. There goes the planet.
Well, then you can go ahead and subscribe and see all that. What do you think about New Mutants and all the other X-Men stuff in general? Then you can leave that stuff in the comments. I'd love to hear about it. And most importantly, stay good, stay safe, and don't be an asshole.